Hello and welcome to the Monday Club with me, Mark and Pam. I think Mick has took some sort of wee seizure. He's away making noises all over the place. I'll bring him back in. Mick, how are you? First of all, before
Good,
we
mate,
start,
good.
you all
All
right?
good,
You
yourselves.
survived that wee attack, if you think, mate. Aye.
Is that? I know, I've got there, mate. Touch and go for a while, but I've got there in the end.
Okay, first of all, welcome everybody who's tuned in. It's another wee Monday session with me, Pam, and Mick. I don't know what's happened to Pam. She's maybe decided that this isn't for her tonight. Life's got better choices for her. She'll go back very soon, I'm sure. But don't forget to like, share, slag Bhoycie's here. Buysports.com, 10% off your flaky pastry treats. Bus 1888 is your code. I think Pam is back in. She's back with a bang.
Sorry, I had some technical difficulties.
That's all right. Mick's had some sort of seizure, so it's time for you to show up with us. How are you, Pam? How's things?
Overall, things are pretty good.
Yeah.
It was a good game to watch yesterday. So good to see the team back in action.
It was pretty good to see the team back in action. I feel like there's been a lot of congestion with the fixtures the last couple of weeks, but I think after the Rangers game in January the 2nd, I feel quite relieved that we've had a lot of football to keep us company. I really think that if we had 3 weeks to stew on that performance, I think your heat started to go a bit mental and you start to stew on it too much. So I'm glad that we moved on for that very quickly with a few games, a couple of clean sheets. Barring a penalty, we'd probably had a third clean sheet in a week. So it's all looking a bit better than it did on January the 2nd. The team's performing really well in general. Just to get your thoughts on the result on Saturday, Pam, and also the performance with a makeshift Celtic team. How do you think we played?
Well, first, I think we played a lot better than I thought we were going to. To be honest, I was quite anxious when I saw the list of injuries. Two of our best players being out, Kuhn and Idah. I was there thinking, oh no, Yang. I was really nervous, I'll be honest. I did not have faith at all in Yang, but thank God he proved me wrong. I'm happy to hold my hands up. Well done, Yang. So, I was very happy. And I actually thought Kyogo stepped up, and it was the most like Kyogo I've seen since Ange. He was back to being sharp on the ball and scoring those Kyogos I used to love. So it was very good. It was almost like a resurrection of some sort. It's when you have some players out, you can see what some other players bring to the table. And I think that's what the game was ultimately, which was great to see.
That's great. We could touch on Kyogo's individual performance because I think I agree with you, Pam. We saw the old side of Kyogo rather than the kind of two-touch Kyogo we've seen the last maybe 3-4 months, maybe there's no longer than that. He's kind of on the periphery of the match. But what we've seen on Saturday, I feel like, is a more involved Kyogo with the same movement, but also that bit of a killer instinct back again, because the 2 goals he scored, he's not scoring these goals a few weeks ago. They were clinical finishes, and I think that Kyogo has always had that in his game, but we've not seen enough of it consistently, and to have 2 very important deadly finishes like that was quite important for the team. And Mick, what about you, mate? I know you were there up in Ross County, God, up in Dingwall, anybody that travelled up in that weather that time in the morning, hats off to you, mate. I'm pretty sure your liver was recovering still this morning. So how's things with you, mate? Did you enjoy the trip? And what do you think overall with the performance and scoreline for Saturday's match? Were you impressed?
Definitely still recovering in the later point, but it was brilliant. I really enjoyed the game, and I think we started to click a lot better after the Rangers game in January the 2nd.
Yeah,
we got a lot more fluid, and like Engles have been stepping up as well. Right, he's coming on leaps and bounds every game, I think, and it just played a lot faster as well. The conditions were, I thought that was brilliant. We still managed to play football in that icy park and that freezing temperatures, but we looked a lot better. I'm really encouraged by it, and then obviously got Dundee tomorrow night as well. So hope just try and kick on again, and hopefully get a break at some point, because it has been constant. 2 games a week for 2 months. Is it?
Well, I think Rodgers did touch on it the day again about the fixture congestion, and he actually referenced the Bundesliga, how they've had 3 weeks of break, and it's helped the performance levels of the teams. And I think he's quite annoyed at the fact that Celtic are maybe struggling. And not just Celtic, he actually mentioned all the teams in the league are struggling for fitness, and squad levels are beginning to really matter now. You know what I mean? The best teams will crop up. And one of the things we noticed about the other day there is we kind of panicked, I think, when we seen Idah or Kuhn, because you're panicking in terms of how do Celtic set up, what changes are they going to make, and is anybody coming in going to shows a performance level that we can get the result, especially at a tough place like Dingwall, and a Saturday afternoon. It's a hard place to go, and excuse the glasses, I'm looking a bit like a geek here, but I've got the team here. If this pops up, so that's how according to this mob here, we set up 4-1-4-1. I think me and Bhoycie were trying to decipher it for about half an hour on Saturday, but it was good to see Kyogo being put back in a familiar position for him, and quite unfamiliar for the Celtic fans. We've not seen Kyogo play out wide. I think the last time I seen him doing it, and to my recollection, was at Ibrox that day with Edward, and it was a fucking nightmare, to be honest with you. And I thought his performance levels was right up there with ones we've seen in the past. And what we did see as well, he was getting involved far more often, you know what I mean? And I also felt that Yang, I mentioned Yang, I thought he actually stood up to the mark, and you did see a different side to Yang, you know what I mean? I might be wrong here, but I think he won the penalty kick. I think that's the third penalty kick he's won in the last 4 or 5 matches. So he's definitely getting in areas where he's making himself a pest. Don't get me wrong, he's a pest to me half the time, but he's getting that. He's making himself a pest to the opposition, and he's creating chances, and he's just lacking that killer pass and that goal or that moment that's going to bring him to the Celtic fans' attention. And I think his performance levels have risen, whether that's game time or whether that's just that he's getting used to the fact that he's going to have to take his chances when he's at Celtic. He's not going to get too many one-off chances. He's going to have to take them himself. And I thought he played a really vital role in Celtic's performance the other day there, as did the midfield. Arnie Engles in particular was good at stages, and I also thought he showed a lot of courage to come out and retake that penalty kick. And although I gave Kyogo the chance at a hat trick, but just staying on Kyogo if I can here, Pam. The last maybe month or two, we've highlighted the fact that Kyogo's not been involved in the match too much. Sometimes he can have 4 or 5 touches of the ball, and I did see that. Again, I've got some graph. I look like a pure expert here because I've got a graph here. 54 touches in the ball. 54 touches he had on Saturday, which is a total different kettle of fish to what we've seen in the last few months. I mean, we've seen a guy in the last few months that can play 45 minutes and don't touch the ball once or twice if he's lucky. And although his movement's good, and we're expecting more for a Celtic striker, and if playing it wide is going to suit Kyogo and still give us goals from Kyogo, then is that something that you think, first of all, we can do moving forward and give Rodgers another option as well as Idah? And also, how do you feel that Kyogo's performance levels on Saturday went to the next level with getting more involved in the play? Do you think that helped that?
Yeah, firstly, I think that helped. The most important thing, and that's his confidence.
Yeah.
The fact, because the confidence, it's very close to the whole mentality of how you approach games. And once you have that solid rock foundation mentality, then then you're unstoppable. Because football, it's not just a physical game, it's also the mental game.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's why you have like all the sports psychologists and stuff like that, not sports scientists, that's a completely different thing, but the sports psychologists. And it's so that is a very, very key part that I think gets underlooked, a lot, but that is really because that is really the final part, I do believe, because he has the physical prowess. We've seen it during Ange. He has the physical ability to move into these positions, spot these positions, and receive great balls from wingers and midfielders and just pop it into the net. So I think this really is the final piece. And, you know, one of the things I say just about life in general, oftentimes a change is as good as a rest.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this change of perspective, change of how he plays really, really paid off. And I think, you know, he probably felt it was a breath of fresh air because, you know, if you keep playing him in the same position where he's been kind of lackluster, ultimately over time, you're going to associate playing in that position with, I haven't been playing great here. So that's more likely to affect your confidence and, you know, your mental side of the game. So I think that change-up is actually exactly what Kyogo needed from a psychological perspective. And it paid off. You know, he had a different level to the game that I haven't seen since Ange.
Well, I think that's come up in the comments, and I think we've got to agree with what you says, Pam. I mean, I think if you're associating playing in a position where you know you're going to be doing all the legwork and you're not going to receive the ball a lot, and the crowd's beginning to go on your back a wee bit, and you're associating that position, or at least that role you've got, with not having too much success, I think you've got a backward step before you start, and I think that's only fair to point that out. And if Kyogo feels comfortable in that position, and by the stats, it looks like he performed really well. I thought he looked back to his old self, minus a smile, but I think Rodgers touched on that. You don't need to be running about the park with your t-shirt off every time you score. I think he was back to his old self again on Saturday. Sometimes the better players stand up when there's criticism coming their way, and I think that's only fair to point out the fact that he's been playing with don't know, feel that he's been strangled a wee bit with this formation or this style a wee bit, and I think Saturday was more suited to him. Mick, what about you? Did you feel that Kyogo thrived in that role? Do you think it's more natural for Kyogo to be a winger coming in the box, drifting off the wide, or do you feel like there was reasons more than just his position before that was kind of curtail his performances, or you like me and Pam who think the position might just be what Kyogo's been looking for, and the Celtic fans?
I think it did suit him. He was a lot more involved in the game, and he got involved in the build-up play a lot more. And the way he drifted off the right was excellent, and his movement is elite level. I've always said that, but he's got to get the service. I think we played the earlier part of the season, and to be honest, last season as well, a lot of times we never get the ball into the near post, low hard cross across the near post like the way they did under Ange. I think he could have suffered with that, so he wanted to play into his strengths. And much as I love Kuhn and Idah, we don't really get that ball across. He's kind of relying on like Johnston to get the ball across. But no, I think he's brilliant. As you say, Mark, I think Yang was good as well. End product wasn't always there, obviously, but I think he looked a lot better on the ball, and he looked more confident. I think he was trying stuff and he was working hard and stuff like that. So it was a lot of encouragement with him as well. But I think he will thrive in that position. You know, he looked a lot happy as he got a bit of help up front as well.
Yeah.
He played off Idah a lot of the time as well. So I think he liked that part of it, rather than just being up front himself and getting no service. So whether he'll play that long term going forward, I don't know. I don't know whether Rodgers maybe go back to the way the system I've been playing when Idah came back. But it's an option. And I think he thrived in it as well, as you said. And Idah, I like playing up front with Idah as well, because he played off him quite a lot, and he thrived off him as well. So, well, it's an option going forward. It's something else, another string to our bow, and we can play different ways and everything. And he did look a lot happier. Again, his movement for 2 goals is outstanding.
I think Rodgers touched on the fact that I think he's been listening to a lot of comments being made about him in his press conference today. He mentioned the fact that although he's got one type of style, he's got one type of philosophy, he's quite malleable with his style of play. And I think that message was maybe a wee, under the radar message to the fact that maybe he's seen something the other day that he might look to do again. Because according to his update today, looks like Kuhn's back for Tuesday, but Idah isn't. He's touch and go, and I would go again with Idah and Kyogo on the left with Kuhn. And you mentioned there my dad mentioned it today as well. You're not going to get a ball getting crossed in after Kuhn. Kuhn's like a kind of James Forrest that will just kind of drift along the box, and I'm all for it. I mean, when it comes to wingers, I'm all for wingers take control of the ball, and wingers that are no scared to play a man and beat a man, no scared to have confidence in their ability to take on 3-4 players. I don't mind that at all. It's the ones who check back and play the ball into safety that really annoy me. Like Lewis Palmer, for talking sake. And this is the type of player we're needing. But unless Arthur Johnson's getting a good balls in the box, you're not going to get the service. And what I found on the last home match there was it last week against who we played last week. The last home game. It'll come back to me. There was balls getting whipped across the box, and they weren't all getting cut out at the edge of the box. They were reaching the middle of the box a lot of times before it was getting cut out. And I don't think Idah was getting on the end of them, or Idah was making himself that much of a nuisance that it was disrupting the play enough. And we saw him trudge off the park again yesterday, Saturday, and I'm beginning to feel sorry for the guy, because I do feel like he needs something to go in for 30 yards. The guy needs just a sclaff shot or a game that just goes his way for him to kick on again. And I feel like it's coming for him, but we can't keep calling for him to get starts. And that was his third start in 6 days, and which is as a backup striker is more than most folk get at Celtic. You know what I mean? And me personally, I don't think he's lived up to expectations with that. I don't mean his price tag. I'm consistent with this. His price tag for me is irrelevant. Whether he costs £1 million or £10 million, it's the performances he's putting on. He's giving when he's on the park. The same with Engles. I don't think about his price tag. You know what I mean? In fact, I think it's the opposite. I think if McCowan had come in with £11 million price tag, I think he'd have started 20 games by now, rather than the 3 or 4 he started, because he's constantly impacting the games. Although of recent performances, he's not been great, but they've been dead. You know, tough affairs. You know what I mean, and on heavy pitches and shitty weather. Things like that do matter. You know what I mean. I'm trying to find excuses for them, but and then I think Engles, which I call for, to be fair, I think that wee spell on the sidelines has really helped that guy. You know, I want him to be took back to the next time for a while and worked on. I didn't want him to come back so quickly, but by God, he's come back. He's come back to, I think it might have been 4 man of match performances in a row. But as we do know about man of match performances at Celtic Park, that's picked by the sponsor DAF a bit. So it's not picked by some football expert or anything like that. So you can't really put too much, you can't really put too much kudos onto man of matches at Celtic Park. Sometimes it's just about who the sponsors want to meet that day, you know what I mean? Rather than anything else, you know. But regardless of that, he's performed at a higher level than he has been recently. So hats off to Engles for reacting to being dropped in the right way. And just on team selections, we've got Dundee away tomorrow. It's never an easy place to go. I mean, Tony Dock, I'm a big fan of the guy. I think he's always been a manager that I've quite liked. I mean, he was Aberdeen as an assistant. I always felt like he could come on and manage a club himself. He's done a good job at Dundee. I feel like he's maybe a player or two away from getting in the top 5 consistently. But at Dundee, you don't really get to see that very often. They tend to sell their best players. But they're a dangerous team, you know what I mean? And I think the big striker, Simon Murray, is it? He's got 9 goals this season. I think he's the second top goal scorer. Kyogo's now the top goal scorer, believe it or not. That's flipped on its seat pretty quickly. And I think they're going to be a threat tomorrow night. And I think Celtic, no matter how they line up tomorrow night, I think it's going to be a case of, if we can, as you were on Saturday, because we need to keep that level of performance up, Pam. And I feel like when Celtic raise to that performance levels in terms of intensity, I don't think there's a team in Scotland that can compete with that. But when we start playing that kind of 3-yard passes to each other, and Carter Vickers and Kasper Schmeichel try to do the Managerial 7, it doesn't work for me. And I feel like the tomorrow night, again, is to keep the intensity up, whether permitting or whether not permitting. And I think the game takes care of itself. Again, would you go with Kyogo if Maid is no fit, or would you think, or is there anything else you can think Celtic can kind of utilise on that heavy pitch at Dundee?
Well, I never thought I'd say this, but I'd be happy to actually have Kyogo and Yang back on the wings, in the similar 4-1 formation that we had in our attacking style yesterday over the weekend. I think even with Yang, I do feel more confident with him, especially because he's somebody that is not afraid to go up into the box. And, when he gets the penalties, I feel more comfortable now because we do have a solid penalty taker in Engles. You said this earlier, Mark, but I was really impressed with how he had the mental battle just to stand up and retake the penalty. And it looked like it didn't faze him at all. That takes a lot of mental strength as well. That's the mental part of the game. So I'm actually really happy with that type of formation. I've been really frustrated that Brendan has been very stubborn in this, in his previous playing style. And it's just, it's not that it's bad necessarily, like parts of it are bad, but, teams have sussed that way of playing out. They've sussed those tactics out. So it was time for a change. And so something like this was just very refreshing. So I don't think I'd want to go back to how we were playing, but I'd rather stay more towards how we played over the weekend than revert back to how we played beforehand. Well, that's a pretty vague answer. Sorry.
No, listen. I mean, it was a tough question. I think it's quite. It's an obvious point that I made that if the intensity is there for Celtic, I mean, the results soon follow. I think what you'll notice with Celtic is they tend to dictate the play, even away from home. I mean, it's no surprise to anybody that Celtic are, the flag bearers for proper football in this country, and have been for a long time. Being the ones who kind of showcase the best of Scottish football. You know what I mean? Just knowing Europe, as we've seen too often, but in terms of ability on the ball, Celtic have never been a team that hoofs the ball at the park and just hopes for drop-offs and all the rest of it. And I think if Celtic bring that speed of game and speed of thought to the match tomorrow, Pam, I think it's fair to assume that Celtic come away with the points. And what about you, Mick? Did you see enough of Johnny Kenny on Saturday to suggest to you that is there a place in the bench again for him now? Were you impressed with his contribution for the last 20 minutes or so?
I was actually, he came on, he looked lively and he was trying to get involved in everything. And I think I said to you last week, he's got that burst of pace that would worry defenders. He did a few bad touches and stuff, but going in, you expect that. He's still young and he's coming back, his first game back and everything. So I would definitely have him on the bench. I'm giving on the games on the bench and all going well, bring him on again. Maybe 20 minutes to go or something. Then see how he gets on. Try and get minutes before in the January before we make a decision where he's going on loan or he's going to stay as a first team squad player between now and the end of the season. But he looked good. He looked lively anyway. And I think he's one of the ones as well. Once he gets a goal, we'll kick on as well after that. So I was happy with him. I think he's definitely deserving of the games anyway before the end of January. So we'll see what happens.
What's that, mate? I mean, I dare say if he was told to go away to Ireland and score a barrel load of goals, score goals in the Conference League and come back, and I think he's well within his rights to expect some sort of chance. You know what I mean? Rodgers mentioned today, I was surprised at how candid he was. He said that we're going to use this period to work out whether he's here to stay with the group or here to stay and then get sent back out on loan again. I thought I was quite candid at Brendan Rodgers. He doesn't normally speak as openly as that, and I'm all for it. I'm all for whatever he thinks the pathway is for Johnny Kenny. I feel like the boy's done. He's did his remit. He's did what he's supposed to do. He's went out to the League of Ireland. I think he scored 20 odd goals. They won the league. He scored 6 goals in the Conference League. We're probably not scoring 6 goals in the Conference League. Let's be honest. For a level of team that he played for, it's more impressive when you score goals at that level. You know what I mean? And let's not get snobby here as Celtic fans. I mean, we've struggled in Europe for decades, it feels like, you know what I mean? And I think for any player at that level to go and score goals, it's hard to Celtic for bringing him back and not just putting him on the conveyor belt, you know what I mean, and just getting rid of him. I think that if the boy comes in, and I think the ball felt him in the box, maybe 6 yards out, and I think he just rushed it. I mean, the boy's been flung into a Celtic shirt, and the score was 1-1, I think, at the time, and I'm sure it was, and it was a chance to potentially win the match. And all these thoughts go through your head, and the guy just rushed it. But see if that's his 3rd or 4th or 5th appearance, he's slotting that ball away. I've seen a couple of his goals on his highlights reel, and he can run towards a keeper, he can beat a man, he's no. What we've got just now, we don't see a lot of that. Kyogo's an instinct finisher. He's also can score the odd 20, 30 yarder. We've seen it, you know what I mean? And the 2 goals he got the other day there were such an array of talent. I mean, the header, the flicked header was a beautiful goal, but his movement and his touch for that first goal was unreal, you know what I mean? It's like something you'd see for Ange season 1, if you look back at the highlights. You'd seen the kind of goals quite a lot, but Idah maybe cutting the ball back and I'm just kind of gliding the ball into the corner. And it was a great ball for Arthur Johnson on the angle as well. You got to give Arthur Johnson his praise there. Although I do think he made an absolute arse of it with that penalty kick. And I think Chris Boyd and Neil McCann's jobby jaws aside, you know, talk about penalty kicks, not talk about red cards, not the rest of it. It was just a clumsy, stupid challenge, and I think he was lucky maybe on another day maybe not to get a red card after some hun referees we've seen before. It can easily happen at Celtic when you wear a Celtic shirt. A lot of folk are slagging my posh and Becks, and they're quite big. I'll get what's that?
Mine too.
I get my wrong. See, you get eyes like mine. I don't care how well I do. You get eyes like mine, you wear it, you know what I mean. But I did try my best. These comments are really small. I need to put them on to see it. I'm just clicking on random conversations. It could be saying it, and Mark's a fan of it, and I just click on it. So good on you for being quite polite on the pod tonight. Okay. So Rodgers today again touched on transfers again. We spoke about this last Monday, and we're still no further down the line with Kieran Tierney, but the encouragement signs are there for Celtic. You know what I mean? We're reading very good sources. The streets of the place to go. No, but we're reading for good sources that he's coming. It's whether it's the new or whether it's summertime. I'm gonna be honest. I'm quite zen on the fact that it's summertime. That's fine with me. I feel like Taylor and Vi as backup is probably going to be enough for us just now to win the title. It'll probably be enough to see us out. I think Greg Taylor has been a good servant for the club, and maybe he deserved to see his time out as a number one. You know what I mean? Given what he's gave the club, and he's been a big part of the position we're in just now. You can look at the negative things he's done in a Celtic jersey, and that's fine. You know what I mean? I'm not going to slag anybody for criticising players when they wear a Celtic shirt. I think you're born into a different standard, so you've got to get used to it. But so I'm not all that fussed about Kieran Tierney coming in the summertime, but there's a bit of anxiety when you see him going on for 10 minutes for Arsenal in case he gets injured again. Pam, are you like me? Are you quite calm about the situation, or do you just want Kieran Tierney here tomorrow so you can just see him back in the flesh again playing for Celtic?
I mean, I'd be happy if he was back, but I'm also similar to you. You know, if it doesn't happen until the summer, like I won't be crying either. I mean, if we didn't have Alex Fry, I'd be in a very different position. I'd be like, geez, we need somebody here ASAP. But you know, now that we have some backup, and you know, backup that I believe actually gives an extra level of performance than Greg Taylor, I'm pretty happy. You know, mind you, wouldn't mind seeing KT back either, but it doesn't have to happen right away for the sake of my mood. Like, it won't be dependent on that. So I'm similar to you. I'm just quite zen about it for once.
Mike, what about you? You're one of the posse that was singing Kieran Tierney the other day there. What about you? Are you like me and Pam, or are you just choking to get the boy back? And either way, I think it's a good answer. But how are you feeling about the situation? Are you panicking when you see him coming on for 5 minutes for Arsenal? Are you thinking, oh fuck, here we go? Or are you again quite settled about the fall when he comes sort of way?
I was kind of panicking when he came on. To be fair, I was like, "What's he doing?" So I think that it would just be our luck for him to come on and get injured. This is a lot to get us. But I'm kind of same as you and Pam. I'm quite relaxed about it, to be honest. And I think it's going to happen. It'll be the last couple of days of windows, and Arsenal might just say, "Look, he's gone anyway. If he gets some money back from, it's better than nothing." But I don't. For the other side of things, I don't see as. I think it would cost maybe $5 million or something to get him in between January and end of the season.
And wages.
Wages, not with a payoff for Arsenal, I think, and I think we need to cover a big part of his wages as well. But so I'm quite comfortable with Taylor and White at the end of the season. Like I said last week, I like Taylor. I think he's done really well for us over the last few years. And I'm encouraged by as well. I thought he played really well on Saturday as well. So I'm quite relaxed about it. If he comes in, I'd love to see him. I'd just love to see him back in the Celtic jersey. You can't take that kind of romanticism away from it, obviously. But I'm quite relaxed about it. It's good if it happens. Brilliant. If it doesn't happen to summer, I can understand it as well, to be honest. We've got Taylor and Idah perfectly good enough to see it the rest of the season. But of course, I'd love to see him back as soon as possible. That's a given. But we'll just need to see what happens, I suppose.
Well, I think you've got to look at Arsenal's side of it as well. I mean, they can be clever here, and if we're thinking, oh no, is he going to get injured playing for Arsenal? They know that Celtic may have the same thoughts. You know what I mean? They'll probably be playing their hand as well. Like, well, he's our player. We can play him when we want to. So there is that side that where they're trying to maybe force Celtic's hand. Because I genuinely think I've never seen a comment on Twitter or any other platform that every Arsenal fan that speaks about Kieran Tierney, they're always full of compliments. There's nobody ever questions his talent, not one. His injuries, no question that. His talent, not at all. So they've got a player in their hands who they know is Arsenal quality, and we don't get Arsenal quality players at 27. So they know that they've got a hand to play here, and they can maybe force the issue, force Celtic to to spend. You know what I mean? Bring it. Put their money on the table, bring him in early, you know what I mean, and recoup some of the £25 million that we took off him. Although I think that was a steal. I think Kieran Tierney in today's market, for fully fit Kieran Tierney, in my opinion, you're talking £60 million for this kind of guy. For me, he's a world-class fullback. I don't care if he ends up at Celtic or where he ends up at Aberdeen next season. He's a world-class football player, and the fact that he's coming back to Celtic is for one reason. He's a Celtic man. There's no reason whatsoever we get a player of that talent come to Celtic Park, other than the fact he's a Celtic man. He's stuck by his word. He's never forgotten his roots, you know what I mean? And if he comes back, fantastic. Well, he's coming back in summertime. I think we all know that now. But just sticking on transfers, I think Celtic are beginning to clear the decks a wee bit. I think Stephen Welsh has already completed his move to, is it Michelin? Lewis Palmer, he's heavily linked with Real Sociedad, Vallecano, sorry, was it?
Rayo Vallecano.
For initial loan, then a £2.1 million deal has been put in hyperspace. You know, it's been put out there as Celtic's kind of asking price, and we saw him the day back at Celtic Park training. Rodgers again was quite coy. He didn't deny the rumours when he was asked about Lewis Palmer potentially leaving. He would just say that he's in, and spoke about his past and his grandeur, etc. So I think that one's kind of a banker that he's going to go, and I think Odin Thiago Holmes looked to go out on loan as well. Lagerbielke, Nevroki, or what you call him, he's due as well to go on loan, I reckon. So you're seeing some clearing of the decks. Celtic are making spaces now for incomings, and I feel like it's proper management of the squad, and we haven't seen it. We've seen random players go to random places on loan. We saw random players coming in to fill random positions we don't need filled in, and we've been neglecting left back for a few years. We've been neglecting the wings. For all intents and purposes, we've seen that Kieran Tierney is coming in. We're addressing the left back situation. Wingers is an option, is being touted as one of Celtic's key priorities this window. So they're addressing that situation, and I think if we don't get an answer on Kenny staying in the squad, I think we might press a button on somebody else coming in the striker as well. So we are seeing a proper management of Celtic's squad, and it's no before time, and I must admit, I can't help but laugh when I see some of the stuff that's going on across the city with Rangers and the state they're in. We know proper squad management, and it must be encouraging for you, Mick, that when we know that Rangers aside, we know that eventually we're beginning to make waves, that the squad's beginning to be looked after in a proper manner. Do you think that's the Brendan Rodgers effect, or do you think that's the board finally seeing sense when it comes to how to build a squad, or do you think, like me, the cynical side, that Brendan Rodgers has just got that strong a hand that the board's kind of forced into modernising a wee bit?
I think that's definitely the latter part, Mark. I mean, remember in the summer, we hadn't really signed anybody up to the last day. I think Bernardo came in a week before the transfer deadline. But Rodgers came out with a strong statement after the Hibs game, basically calling out Michael Nicholson to get signings in. So I think he's a big part to play as well. And I think that he called him out basically to get players in and do it quickly.
He was quite strong in his words, wasn't he, Mick? He was quite strong, and we found it progressive. This isn't a pod or a section about the board, but just when we're discussing it here, that he was getting progressively more annoyed as the window was going on, and I think for me it tells us that we've got a man who sees the bigger picture here. You know what I mean? Who sees the importance of building a squad. Building a team is one thing, Mick. So we see building a squad, having options, and having the next person that came out of that vending machine, as I call it, Rodgers. I think he's got that, and what we begin to see is there's chess pieces getting moved here. There's players getting put out on loan early enough, and there's moves getting made that to my mind, Mick, that there's certainly going to be incomings. Whether they are the right ones or the wrong ones are there to be seen. But I'm quite excited just now as a Celtic fan that at least Celtic are beginning to show that they're beginning to modernise. And what's your thoughts on that? Are you quite comfortable in the fact that Celtic seem to always get it right, or do you think there's been a shift and we're seeing these changes in terms of making room for players coming in? Are you seeing that as Celtic eventually try to progress?
I think it was, Mark. I was actually thinking of this earlier. Remember the raft of signings I made last summer? Not last summer, sorry, the season before, Rodgers' first season back.
Yeah.
Like say Lager, Bielka and the Rotsky, people like that, and Kwon, and I think Yang's only one still there, isn't he? Or the Ross is still there, but he's going to go, I think, anyway. And there was 7 signings made.
Well, what we did see with the players that's come in, Mark, is none of them were in the starting 11 at all. I mean, but Bernardo, Kuhn, and Idah. Bernardo, up until he signed his actual first contract with Celtic after his loan, he was a come or go sort of player. You know what I mean? He's turned into a brilliant acquisition with the club. I think Kuhn and Idah were the first Brendan Rodgers signings. I think they all kind of see that, and I think it was more. We were wanting more. In fact, the club came out and apologised to the fans for the club only buying 2 players, basically, about the lack of activity. The club released a statement about that, and what we found is Rodgers' mantra is quality over quantity, and I'm always wanting more and more. I'm greedy. I want as many good players as you could get, but I'd rather have 2 good players than 5 run-of-the-mill players. I think that's what we found out in that window, and I think that moving forward, as long as we stick to what Brendan Rodgers is beginning to build at Celtic, it lessens the blow when it eventually does happen that Rodgers does move on. And just back to you, Pam, excuse me, in terms of the rest of the window, we spoke about it last week in terms of what positions you think needing filled. Is there anybody that you've noticed within the starting 11 that you feel that we should be looking to replace in this window? I'm not talking about like for like. I'm not talking about somebody that come in and be a backup. I'm talking about somebody who's going to come in and take the jersey. Is there any position on the park or any player on the park that you feel that we can improve on and improve on quickly? Sorry?
Like reinforce.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Push the first choice into the second choice, basically. Is anybody in the start 11? If Rodgers' best 11 was on the park just now, and we can kind of guess it, to be honest with you, 1-11, is anybody in that team that you think we need to push the button on and improve?
Well, one thing that the new formation last weekend did show me is that we do have good players in good positions. It's about where you position them. But I will say one position I really do want to strengthen still are wingers, because a lot of our attacking style relies on the wing.
Yeah.
So I would like different wingers that have, different sort of skills. I think one thing we are missing in a winger is somebody who has that instinct just to give a really good long shot in from the side to an attacker. That's what Jota was really good at doing.
Yeah, just whip the ball in.
Exactly. And we have the speed in Maeda and Kuhn and Kyogo as well. We have the speed. That's all nailed down. That's perfect. But for me, I think we're missing that last element, no hesitancy. They can just spot out the attacker there, place the ball, boom. Because that's actually how Kyogo was scoring a lot of his great goals under Ange. He was pairing up with Josh a lot and Hatate a lot, So I think that's probably the last thing that I would really love to strengthen.
Good point there, Pam. Good point, because that goal we scored, the first goal the other day, it was a great move, don't get me wrong, but that early ball in from Arthur Johnson is what and Kyogo is moving very quickly. Kyogo is moving, right? And if we're taking 3-4 touches too many, then it's the runnings just came. The run's been made for no reason. And that early ball, as you mentioned, I didn't see it that way until you mentioned it. We did get a lot of goals for that ball for 30 yards whipped in. You know what I mean? And causing chaos. Sometimes it went through the back post to Idah. I'm not trying to harp on to yesterday, but I think we're missing that myself. Missing somebody. I mean, Arthur Johnson's probably the only one that's doing that just now. As I say, Kuhn's a different type of player. Maida's just Maida. You know what I mean? I don't know.
He just shows up and does what he does, and it works a lot of the time. Luckily,
he's either a box of tricks or a box of frogs. Into let's be honest. He's never consistent with the guy, and don't ever change. I'm happy for the guy to be.
He's either boom in the goal or boom in the stands.
Aye, he's either hitting somebody with holding a ball throw, or he's hitting the top corner. He's really bizarre, and I suppose if we don't know what he's got to do next, maybe the defence of the other teams don't know either. So that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, there is one particular player that I think Celtic are lining up. If I can just expand a little bit, he's from Aston Villa. And I think his name is, I think, Louis Barry. Right. I've only seen a little bit about him, but I think he would have that. I think he would have an extra element that I would like to see as an attacking winger. Right. I think he's somebody that would, instead of just moving up and forward, he'd be moving in a little bit, but would be acting as a support to the forward, because that's ultimately what I think we need. I've
not seen this. Is this broke recently? This news?
I think it's today. I just saw it this morning when I woke up. I was looking into it a little bit. But Aston Villa, they're doing pretty good this season. So I had a little look at them. A look at him. So he could be he's only 21. So I think we probably have to give him the same grace and patience as we would Arne Engles. But I think it really could pay off. But we definitely do need that extra dimension, that extra action as a winger. I think ultimately what Kuhn does, I love Kuhn, don't get me wrong, I think he's great, but sometimes he hesitates a little too much when going into the box. I'd rather somebody just find the forward, make that quick pass, or have really the strength and the perseverance to really attack into the box and then pass or shoot.
I think he's like that player you get at school that just runs the full length of the park and scores, but he doesn't realise there's somebody else that can maybe score first. But he's so dynamic, you know what I mean? Exactly. He's so good at that, and I feel like I think if you got that on one side of the park and somebody who can do the other things that you mentioned, I think that's a good combination of mixing and matching, and especially if you got a striker of the level of Kyogo on his day, or Idah on his day, I think they're just causing problems for the defence, because it's a total different type of player they're facing in each direction, and I think that's good to have all that variety. Just quickly before we finish, we'll head back to tomorrow's game just before we wrap it up. Mick, what's your thoughts on tomorrow's game? Team selection, no 1-11, but would you stick the same team as Saturday, and also your score predictions if you can, mate?
I would stick the same team because obviously Kieran and Idah have been carrying an injury. You don't want to. I'd rather wrap them in cotton wool for the young boys game next week.
Fair enough.
And that's a lot more important. And I'm quite comfortable to see what Yang and Kyogo doing at the positions again like they played on Saturday. Quite get happy to get them another run in that kind of structure. Predictions. I wouldn't change it else about the team. In fairness, that'd be fine. Predictions tomorrow, I can be 2-0. I think it will be a tight game, but if we get an early goal, we possibly score a few more. But I was going 2-0.
Same as Gary Brown here, he's popped in with that prediction as well. I would take that another clean sheet for Celtic, 3 points. I think Dundee is a hard place to go to the best of times. Midweek makes it a bit more tricky sometimes. I feel like these games are always, another 2-0 here, always difficult and need to be treated with the respect as any other match in Scottish football. Pam, about you, again, same as Mick, are you happy with to keep the team the way it is to wrap up Kieran and Idah and Cotton Will?
Definitely.
Yang, the game time that he might be enjoying just now, give Kyogo that bit of game time, and with the added benefit of giving Idah another chance to show what he can do. Or would you make changes? And also your correct score, please.
Well, I'm going to be boring as well and say I also agree on the same thing. I think, if we keep giving Yang the game time, especially after he had a great performance, that's going to keep building up his confidence and the mental strength and, help him with the mental game. I want to see more of Kyogo and Idah working together. I haven't seen enough of it yet to make a final opinion. I need to see a little bit more of that. I also am really happy at the separation of the midfield too, because they kept Cal McGregor back, and he's more of a defensive midfielder I've seen. He can score some good goals too, but I'm happier having him back in a more defensive midfield position, and then having Engles and Hatate more push forward. I think that's a great way to break it up. So I would like to see more of that, and yes, definitely keep keep my Idah and Kuhn out, because I still do believe there are 2 best players, so keep them for young boys.
Yeah.
And I do believe it'll be also either 2-0 or 2-1.
That's it. Take as long as you score early, I'm happy. I live on the life as a panic match when it comes to Celtic. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just the way I'm up. But thanks for everybody who's watched tonight. I know it's a Monday night, you're probably at dinner tea. Thanks, Pam, for your time tonight. Mick, thanks for it to you as well, buddy. So that's it. That's us finished up. Hail, folks. Enjoy tomorrow's game, and come on, the fucking Celtic.
Exactly.